Ladies and gentlemen,
No.
trolley fans and train buffs and lovers of Shelburne Falls. If you have not been to Shelburne Falls, Massachusetts, located here in the grand, splendorous Western Mass, you needed to make it out here. So today I am in an interesting landscape feature of the community. I am at the Shelburne Falls Trolley Museum. I'm here with three of their wonderful trolley operators, Mr. Rowan Delabar, Dan Sandberg, and Brian Parkinson. And we're going to conduct a little informative interview so you can put this place absolutely on your bucket list. Probably should be, in some respect. So anyhow, without further ado, I'm here first speaking with a gentleman by the name of Rowan Delabar, and Rowan's going to give you a little insight as to how this place established itself here in the community and the importance of it and the historic elements of it. And so wherever you want to begin, as I understand it, from not even a neophyte level, this trolley was operational from Shelburne Falls to Coleraine, Mass, back starting in 1896 and went up to about 1927. And it was sort of like it carried passengers back and forth, students to school, carried materials. It was a post office, and it was a very vibrant part of the community and serviced the community in a grand way. So as things changed with automobiles and other forms of transportation, it sort of canceled itself out in many ways as technology became evolved. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Rowan Delabar, and Rowan will proceed with more informative information about the Shelburne Falls Trolley Museum. Rowan, it's all yours.
Yep. So basically, you covered it. And by 1927, the line had been losing money, and eventually, when their biggest customer, Brazilville Manufacturing, Big Cotton, said they were switching to truck too, the line saw the writing on the wall, and they sold off. And the line eventually ended up in the hands of a guy called the local trucking and scrap metal firm called Sandberg Trucking. And he in turn, scrapped everything and sold off the assets. And the reason it's single riding trolley we have is here today is the farmer and sentimental attachment to the line. Got the his wife on the line, his kid rode up to school. So when he heard that the trolley line was, offering stuff for sale, he asked the scrapping firm if we could have a trolley. We can have this one, number 10. But we can have the body of it. I think it's a wheel and electronics and everything scratched. But you'd have to pay my trucking firm $100 to tow it to your farm. You know, a lot of money back then, but the farmer paid it, and the trucking company actually needed a free Mac thrust to maneuvering to his bar. And they placed it down, and there it sat for over 65 years. And it's just, a general tool shed and storage shed. Tried to do the chicken coop, but it got too hot and the chickens fainted. Well, in the 1990s, a group of people thought it would be nice to restore the trolley, so they formed it on for profit. And they convinced owner of the trolley, was the son of the farmer who saved it, Marshall Johnson. His father was Frank. And Marshall was also old enough for writing it as a kid. Remember I said the farmer's kid wrote it? Well, that was Marshall. And he agreed to donate it. Probably help his family members were on the board of directors. They could be like, come on, Dad, it'll be down where you can see it. They could take care of it. That's exciting. So, in the early 1990s, he got it. And through a bunch of volunteer efforts and some grants, not only were we able to restore it, but using the early internet of the 1990s, we actually found wheels and motors that were pretty close to what it originally had. So instead of just restoring it as a stationary exhibit, we decided to make it fully operational. And by October 1999, we had it restored, and we started giving rides, and been here ever since.
Good. So now we're going to bring up Brian Parkinson. That was very, very informing there.
Yep.
Thank you. And we will probably have you back with some more questions. So don't go hopping any trains or trolleys.
All right.
So now, welcome to the seat.
There we go.
We're here with another operator, Brian Parkinson. Hi, Brian.
Hi, everybody.
And yeah, if you want to contribute whatever kind of info that you would like to avail to the public of this lovely trolley museum, we'd like to hear your words.
Well, sure, I'd be happy to share some stories.
Great.
So as Rowan mentioned, the trolley here survives because of a love story that we elaborate more on our interpretive tour as we take the trolley up the line in town and then back to the station complex here. What we see here has actually existed since at least 1875 when the Boston and Maine Railroad came through and put Shelburne Falls on the railroad map.
Nice.
And the trolley connected here would bring freight from those trains and passengers up the river to Coleraine. And that included stopping at apple farms and stopping at milk farms along the way. And one of the stories that we like to tell is before the age of refrigeration and fresh foods as we know it, products had to get to the market before they spoiled. And the first trolley of the day would bring milk from these farms every morning down to the railroad here and loaded onto the first passenger train of the day. And that would be brought into Boston where it would be on sale at Boston Common every day at 10 a.m.
Wow.
So
Fascinating.
that was fascinating. That's a feat, and we don't even do that today, right?
Yeah. Wow, that is really something.
But the trolley made that possible. The trolley was how you got where you needed to go. It was the post office. It was the school bus. It's how you got into town. It's how your friends came to see you. If someone in your house was sick, it's how the doctor came to you. Trolley was really everything for the people who lived out here.
And you are from currently the Boston area.
I am.
And how did you become aware of the existence of this trolley museum out here 100 miles out west of Boston? And what of your personal interest brought you here with your romance with trolley?
Definitely, yeah. So I'm originally from Missouri. I grew up along the railroad track waving to the trains, and the trains would wave back to me, and I got to know some people who ran the trains, and that was just a wonderful experience and something that just doesn't really leave.
Yeah.
And I moved to Boston about 6 years ago and found myself kind of cooped up during COVID and decided to take a road trip. And whenever I want to take a road trip, I follow a railroad line because it'll take you to great small towns. It'll take you to neat cafes, bookstores, cool restaurants. You meet great people. So it's always where I start when I go on an adventure.
I'm going to pause you on that. He just said something that was very, very, very intriguing to me. It was whenever you feel cooped up, number one, you follow the railroad lines. It will take you to wonderful towns of enchantment and charm, and that's what he did. So think of that as a viable tip when you're trying to think of maybe what to do some weekend. You can take his advice, and I'll just further add to it. This is my first time here too, and Shelburne Falls, I think, has even received some Massachusetts awards as being one of the most charming small towns or villages in the state of Massachusetts, perhaps even in New England. So there's many wonderful landscapes and sights to see here, and it's got an abundance of history. So anyhow, I did interrupt this wonderful gentleman, but I wanted to take note of how you, what was the catalyst that brought you here?
It's a great point, and it's a fun thing to do, and just how you mentioned it, that's how I found this place. And it was closed during COVID, but I kept it in the back of my mind that I walked around and I saw what they had here, and there's clearly something going on that I wanted to see in action. So I came back the next season, met the people, and the people are what make it great. We can see these wonderful exhibits out here.
Yeah.
But it's just like back in the day, it was people who would serve and people who sort of puppeteered them to life.
Yeah.
And made them what they were. And it's a great bunch of volunteers out here. We're just wonderful to be around. We do great stuff, preserving history, carrying on the story and the legacy. And, we talk about Shelburne Falls as a beautiful place to live, and there's some great folks out here. And we'd love to see you folks out here, and we'll tell you the story. We'll bring you up and down the line. We have an old telephone, too.
Yeah, they have some telegraphs here that, as I understand, may still be operational.
That's right. So really authentic and original.
Yeah.
And we do another thing as well. If you make a donation of $20 or more to the museum, we'll even let you drive the trolley up and down, and we'll teach you how to do that. So
how about that? And this is, I don't care if you're 40 years old, 41 years old or 94 years old, 97 even, you will quite enjoy the surroundings here, and it's a wonderful group of people to work here. The Trolley Museum is loaded and rich in its history, explaining what took place in greater depth and detail. And this gentleman here, Brian, you had some really, really fascinating things to say, and we appreciate your enthusiasm and your interest in service, and great stories with Brian.
I'm all of how an old townscape would look like with the trolleys going around. And what you might notice is in the middle there we have an old truck. Usually those trucks were modified to Model Ts a lot of the time, so this had kind of a wood crate built onto the back to it. And those were basically wagons that would go from as we know houses and farms and bring their goods and packages to the station. So they were called station wagons. And we still have vehicles like that today that are part wood and part car. And that comes back to the day of these trolleys in the era when these trolleys were the center point of the hell.
Oh.
Yeah, right here.
Yep.
I have a telegraph.
Take this. Take this.
Good, great. So we still use computers today, ones and zeros, right? Well, back in the day, we had to put in ones and zeros by hand, and it took a lot longer, but it was just as effective. Through a series of dots, long and short, you could actually communicate with someone hundreds, even thousands of miles away. And it said what you wanted to say, or even say when the trolley was coming, or say if two trolleys were coming toward each other. That way they wouldn't collide. So, important safety device and early forms of communication, and actually part of some of the earliest forms of computers. So trolleys played into the steam railroads as well, the planes tail, passenger and freight lines, and here you see a factory landscape in New England that the trolleys and freight railroads played into. It, of course, helped build the world that we know of today up here in New England. Still, of course, panning across time here, all these pictures that show series of events, the trolley coming, the trolley going, trolley being a part of we call Shelburne Falls and Upper Rain into the River Valley. Whirlwind arches, how they fell, sang. The power that actually brought our out of Shelburne Falls to Wayne the first in the area to have commercial power available or rest. The power of the trolley, and they had some extra to share, so they would sell it to people in town who wanted to have their own electricity. Only thing is, the trolley didn't run all the time, and in the evening, they would actually shut the power plant down, and folks would just go in the dark. They would dim the lights a couple of times, about 10 minutes or 15 minutes before they would do that, give people warning, and that would be the end of power for the night until the next day's service began. Well, we mentioned the trolley was restored, and before it was, this is what it looked like, and that's what it looked like for about 70 years. Those aren't the original colors, red and white. The original color was yellow, as we see it today, but the people who had it on their farm were trying to preserve it by just painting it with whatever they could just to keep the wood from rotting away. And so that's how it was found there in 1892, and the organization here took possession of it and began the restoration. And as you can see here, they're taking an assessment of what they need to do and how they're going to move it. And, you know, when you look at a piece like that, you wonder which corner do you actually start on and where does it all get going? And the answer is right there. So, so the trolley was parked in that field for about 70 years, but that's not where it was restored. It was restored right here on the museum property in a shed that was actually built by the volunteers to restore it in. And you can see the process here in these photographs. You can see what it looked like here at the top left when it was first acquired, and then what it became through the different stages of restoration and just beautiful handiwork and preservation of the original wood. It really did a masterful job. This was in the mid to late 90s. And we got it up and running by 1999, and you can see the work, the condition of the wood as it was found, the new wood, sanding and smoothing the canvas roof to restore it to its original condition, and of course, the christening there, the maiden voyage in October of 1999.
Let's go out and take a look at the real finished product.